this is just who Mike Rowe is. He is not a pro-worker guy. He is a pro-boss guy.
But Jacob, he rolls up his sleeves. They're always rolled up.
He cosplays as a worker.
Are you on? Which side are you on?
Everybody knows Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, and there's also a lot that most people don't know about Mike Rowe. So let's play this clips, and I'll have to maybe ruin some of your childhoods.
It's the cookie-cutter advice that's killing us. The idea that the best way to work involves an employer, a 40-hour work week, a union, perhaps. And I always loved the freelancing option.
This is not happening in the third world. This is happening right here.
These people need to understand that the rug is about to be yanked out from under them.
More than 70 million Americans work as independent contractors. If the PRO Act becomes federal law, everything you love about independent status ceases to exist. There are real people who are impacted by this.
My wife got a really bad case of bronchitis. If I'm an employee driver and I decide I'm going to stay home for a week and take care of my wife, my employer's going to say, Tom, I can't leave that truck sitting still for a week. They'll probably fire me. As an independent contractor, I can just tell dispatch, I'm going to be gone for a week. I'll let you know when I'm ready to go again.
That's the flexibility we talked about before. An advantage is in every state if it gets caught up in the slipstream of the PRO Act.
So there you go. That is Mike Rowe cutting ads against the PRO Act, which is just kind of super bizarre. This is how you know that the, corporate millionaires and billionaires just have more money to throw around than they know what to do with, because the PRO Act has exactly zero chance of passing anytime soon because of the Republican House. And so, nobody's even talking about the PRO Act right now. And so that's how you know that, these people have just way more money than they know what to do with, because they're out here cutting ads against a piece of legislation that has exactly 0% chance of passing. But just as a reminder, what does the PRO Act do? The PRO Act does a lot of stuff. It is really kind of the cornucopia of labor legislation that unions support. But generally, what it would do is try to, rebalance the balance of power as workers who are trying to unionize, because we talk constantly about how under the current system of labor law, the employers are constantly interfering illegally, utilizing illegal intimidation, coercive, and retaliatory tactics against their workers to convince them not to unionize, instead of having a debate in the battle of ideas. They're not doing that. They're using intimidation, coercion, and retaliation. And so the PRO Act seeks to fix a lot of that. One of the things is that employers will no longer be able to set union election procedures, which is just bizarre that employers have any say in union election procedures at all, because unions are fundamentally, organizations of workers, and so under the PRO Act, the only people who would be involved in setting up union election procedures would be the workers in the NLRB. The PRO Act would also prohibit employers from forcing workers to attend captive audience meetings, which just makes sense, because my company should not be allowed to force me to listen to their anti-union propaganda, just as the union cannot force me to listen to their pro-union propaganda.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
The PRO Act will also require the NLRB to go to court and get an injunction to immediately reinstate workers if the employer has illegally retaliated against workers for union activity, because that constantly happens. Employees are constantly fired during union campaigns, and but it takes, and a lot of times they will win the case, but they will win the case after the employer has already defeated the union campaign. Everybody else has already moved on. Everybody else has been fired as well, and so the campaign just doesn't have any more legs. So that's what happens typically, and this would try to expedite that process under the PRO Act. The PRO Act would also employers who commit violations under the National Labor Relations Act would face civil penalties, and corporate officials can be held personally liable for violation of the law. Right now, it's only a slap on the wrist. The PRO Act would give workers the right to file a civil action against their employer. Collective and class action waivers are banned under the PRO Act. The PRO Act makes employee misclassification a violation under the NLRA and requires employers to follow an ABC test for employee classification. Because we see a lot of employee misclassification, classifying employees as independent contractors so that you can get away with not providing them with benefits and rights that you would normally have to. And we just talked about this with the WWE, for example. The WWE wrestlers are independent contractors despite them not being allowed, literally not being allowed to work for anybody else or themselves. Very independent. But, they're allowed, the WWE is allowed to get away with that for now. The PRO Act would also codify a joint employer standard. It would illegalize right-to-work laws and require employers to follow a process for reaching a first agreement when workers organize. And it would prohibit employers from permanently replacing striking workers. It would ban the use of offensive lockouts, and remove prohibitions on secondary activities. So as you can see, it does a lot of stuff, but it's all
very broad.
It's very broad, but it is all good for working people, and that is why Mike Rowe doesn't like it. And here's where I'm gonna, destroy your childhood, unfortunately. Because Mike Rowe, if you know him as just the guy who, who likes workers, who do dirty jobs, then, you might be surprised that he would be opposed to pro-union legislation, to pro-worker legislation. But what he actually is a big oil millionaire and billionaire funded propagandist. He is funded by people like the Koch brothers. He is funded by chambers of commerce, and contrary to what some people think, the Chamber of Commerce is not a department or division of the government. It is an organization of employers. It is a council of bosses. He's funded by chambers of commerce. He's also funded by Shell, the oil company, and so what he tries to do is romanticize the American worker doing dirty jobs in unsafe working conditions, as such. He does not talk about the way that people have been able to fight back against unsafe working conditions. He's always been, in opposition to unions, and here he's in opposition to unions again. And so, this is just who Mike Rowe is. He is not a pro-worker guy. He is a pro-boss guy. So, very unfortunate.
But Jacob, he rolls up his sleeves. They're always rolled up.
Yes, he is he cosplays as a worker. That's what Mike Rowe does. Yeah, so. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.